subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
Good morning.
Very good morning, sir.
It's a lovely morning. I'm sure it's a good morning back in Chennai.
Yes, a bright and sunny morning.
The weather is good there.
Yes, as usual, typical Chennai weather.
Yeah, in Chennai there are only three weathers normally: hot, hotter, and hottest.
Yes, I think we are in the hottest mode. We've been so
Oh,
for the
okay,
last 1 week. Yes,
okay,
we did have some rain yesterday. But
okay.
yeah,
So, welcome to this interaction. We are trying to, at Indoy, we are doing a series of interactions with not just the military perspective, also the diplomatic perspective, and also the journalistic perspective. Uh, and we just finished with Mr. Rajagopal, and he is the senior most journalist uh, from the print. And my wanting to have an interaction with you was also because uh, I kind of do keep track of how you tweet, and I'm sorry, but I don't watch or read. I can't read Tamil, so I do watch some tidbits of news from Tamil Nadu. Uh, we're gonna we're gonna have a 30 to 35-minute interaction, and it's not an interview because that's not my profession, that's not my skill set. So it's just interaction. Like, I come from Bombay. Now we know it as Mumbai, but I was born in what it used to be Bombay, and I know it as Madras, not as Chennai, of course. Legally speaking, yes, it is Chennai and it is Mumbai, but in our hearts, it's still same old
always
Bombay.
Madras and Mumbai.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, Kishore, my wanting to have an interaction was for the benefit of the citizens of this country to understand about
Of
Tamil Nadu
course.
and about how Tamil Nadu understands situations or how they understand issues. Uh, the decimation of information when it comes to the mainstream media in the rest of India is way different from the way it is portrayed and the way it is analyzed in Tamil Nadu.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, what is your understanding of how the media is presenting the situation as it stands on the India-China face-off?
See, you'll have to look at two things. The media sets a narrative here because the penetration of the media is quite high. Even if you look at the English media, the penetration of the media is very high to the extent that even nationalist news channels find it that Tamil Nadu holds one of the largest news in South India. Now, having said that, the vernacular media, unfortunately, the kind of you know implants that has been made and the kind of ecosystem that has been developed is such that it goes more with the political ideology that they try to project or kind of the agenda that they narrative that they try to set. So, if you, I mean, you could say that the last year when Prime Minister hosted Z in Mamalapuram, Tamil Nadu, you could see the kind of welcome that the locals gave to that particular event and the kind of ridiculing that was going on in the media as though it was not significant and it held no value and that people in Tamil Nadu did not bother and so on and so forth. But besides the point that it is a fact that a huge share of Chinese imports or exports, influence the economy of the state. But the media was unfortunately not trying to focus on it, and they're rather trying to score petty brownie points, which has been the order of the day for the last 2.5 years, I should say. Now, so if you are going to address this particular issue from that particular ecosystem, I think we would not be doing justice to the topic. But having said that, hailing from Tamil Nadu, we are aware of what actually has been happening on the borders. For example, say in the Nakula sector of Sikkim, or along the Pangong Lake, where we've had issues with, or Pangong Lake in eastern Ladakh, or across the 3,400 kilometers of the border that we share with China, the kind of uh, issues that we've been having. It is not that we are not aware of it. In fact, the recent unfortunate incident where our martyrs, would give up their lives for the nation. Out of the 20, we had one from Tamil Nadu. There was one Mr. Parni who hailed from Tamil Nadu. So we have our due share of loss in that. So it is not about being anti-national, or I think the need of the hour is for us to stand behind the government of the day, which is what any sane citizen would do. And I think let us ignore the vernacular media, because they have not done justice, not just to this topic, to any topic, I should say.
Kishore, my parents came from Tamil Nadu. I don't come from Tamil Nadu. I am from Maharashtra. Uh, I don't speak the language also, but I do like languages, and I do try and learn as much as possible. Uh, so yes, my respect for any and every language is huge. But uh, what I'm wanting to understand, or what everyone wants to understand about Tamil Nadu, uh, is the media actually uh, free? Do you have an unbiased, independent media? Like today, anywhere on any news channel, if you say, there would be some amount of government bashing happening. There would be a lot of criticism on issues, but it's not personality based. Today, if there is something about national security, uh, I would say 90% of the Indian media stands in support of the nation. It's not about any individual, it's not about a particular ideology or a political party. Yes, there will be biased opinions, but 90% of the media, more or less, is independent. Is that so in Tamil Nadu?
No, absolutely not. See, because I'll tell you, but before we delve into it, because you brought in the Maharashtra connect, I would like to tell you two incidents, which would bring out the connect between Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra. One thing is, there is one particular German researcher called who was able to make a.
Your audio is not clear.
You are able to hear me now?
Yes, now I'm able to hear.
There is this particular German researcher who went and made this research on the patterns of the tribal, displacement, or the nomadic displacement of people, and he was able to make a connect between the uh, the ancestors of Chhatrapati Shivaji, and that the deity, the family deity that they were worshipping, connects to Lord Muruga, of who is also considered the Tamil deity. So, which means that is the kind of connect that we have. Now, we also have the Mughal, who were the Mughals and the Sultanates were displaced by the Marathas, and the Delta, which is Tanjore, was saved by them. We still consider them the temple of Pradeshwara still has the ruling clan, or the descendants of the clan Marathas, who are holding the kind of rights there. So, which is right as well. Now, having said this, in fact, the other aspect that not many people know is the famous Chapekar brothers who were involved in the freedom fight and who gave up their lives. Three brothers, the Chapekar brothers, when they wrote in their particular magazine, they were writing in a pseudo name. The name that they chose was not a Marathi name. They chose a name called Dandapani, which is a Tamil name, Lord Muruga. So that is the kind of connect that we have. So to try to isolate and say that I am Tamil and you are Marathi or somebody else is Gujarati is absolutely not fair at all. In fact, when there was a problem of separating the Bombay presidency, I think Muthuramalinga Thevar, who hails from south of Tamil Nadu, was the one who gave his support vociferously to Maharashtra. So this is a kind of history that we have, that we share. So unfortunate that we have now come to have this kind of Puritan thought process that says that your nationalism, your nationality is different, my nationality is different, and we are all, this is this wrong thought process that is being spread. Then in United States of India is kind of thought process that is being stated, which is wrong. In our Constitution, the first schedule of the Constitution is very clear that this is a union of states, union which means that we've united for good, and there is no to cede away any part of the country. Now, having said this, coming back to the media, see the media narrative per se, you will have to understand is that they have an agenda which is absolutely leftist, blatantly leftist, and they go by this kind of the kind of narrative that was set right from the 1920s by the British, which is which they attempted with Ambedkar in Maharashtra. They tried the Sikhs in Punjab, and they tried with the people in the Madras presidency, which was the Justice Party. If you really deeply go into the Justice Party and if you see what really instigated them, they were being told, just like how Ambedkar was being encouraged to say, that the scheduled caste people are not Hindus. Like how Jinnah was instigated to say that the Muslims cannot be part of India. The people of Madras presidency, a section of people were instigated to say that they are not Hindus. The Aryan myths of the Aryan invasion was inculcated, or it was put into them, and that led to the advent of the Justice Party, the anti-Brahmin movement, and so on and so forth. So the media narrative that you see today in Tamil Nadu is a product of this school of thought that has been going about for a few decades. Now, with this thought process, someone sits there. How do you think the fair reportage is going to happen? For example, let me tell you, I would say that I'm not digressing from the topic, but then I would like to showcase a few examples. See, we had this recent case of P. Chidambaram getting arrested, and an FIR was filed. And even before a charge sheet could be framed, we had one of the leading dailies of this country, I should say, one of the oldest dailies of this country, Hindu, as a legacy. The management, Ram, who, by the way, holds a Communist Party card, a membership card. Then he goes on stage and says that Chidambaram is innocent. Now, you tell me, if the man who owns goes on stage and says that somebody who's been accused and who's been arrested, on whom an FIR has been filed and who held the position, nothing less than that of a union minister.
Your audio is not clear. Your audio is not clear. Please.
You're able to hear me now, sir?
Yes, now I'm able to hear you.
So, if someone who held the post of that of a union minister in such a sensitive case, you make a statement that he is innocent even before the charge sheet is framed, how do you think people working in your organization are going to report that particular news or anything related to that? Now, this is just not the case of one N Ram. This is the case with 90% of the media in Tamil Nadu, which is very sad.
Now, the entire idea of having the interaction was wanting to know how Tamil Nadu and the uh, the journalistic arm or the media arm of Tamil Nadu is looking at the India-China face-off. Uh, is there like
Absolutely. You
you
would
know
be shocked. If you, I'm sorry to interject. You would be
no
shocked.
please
There is one particular, let me go on record quoting these people. A couple of days ago, one particular television channel which has a leading coverage called Pudiya Thalaimurai. There's one man who's the editor, Karthikeya Selvan. He goes on record to say that China has no border issues with any other country apart from India. And why is India alone disturbing China? This is what he said on record. Now, isn't that shocking?
No,
If this
I
is
find it
shocking,
laughable because the entire world knows that China has a territorial issue with at least six countries with whom they share their borders. Uh,
absolutely.
and my again, I would emphasize or want you to emphasize on the issue. How is Tamil Nadu going to change this? Or, is there any kind of a flare up amongst the normal citizenry in wanting to know the true facts of the issue? Because over the last 15, 20 days, because we have people who delve into these matters and keep advising us. The idea is that Tamil Nadu, the kind of narrative which is being set by the media or the mainstream media uh, is it's actually like doing a disservice to the entire profession called journalism. Uh,
Absolutely.
why can't the citizens, or why don't the citizens actually demand for factual news? Like, I'll tell you very simply, if there is a faux pas by any media house uh, on any channel, okay, normally there's a citizen flare up and the media house actually tenders an apology at least. I'm not talking about the digital so-called digital media because they are outside the purview of uh, so-called law enforcers also. But I'm talking main media houses. They actually come up and they apologize that yes, there was a faux pas and we regret that. And that's it. Like, we make mistakes, but why is the citizens not getting involved in the news decimation which the journalists do there?
No, it's not that they're not getting involved. The problem is the kind of narrative that is being day in and day out put into their heads. If you are going to switch on the TV and every other channel is going to keep saying that it's going to keep projecting an anti-Modi narrative, which seems to be their only motto in the last 2.5 years. If that is going to happen, I think how do you change that? The only way you can change it is the ruling party should show some conviction to counter the narrative, or the other party which could counter the narrative would be, of course, the BJP, Tamil Nadu section of the BJP. Now, I would like to put out a very interesting point here. You could say it's a revelation. Just that I was having a interaction with one of these media people. Of course, he was leftist, and he was he wasn't really sympathetic about it. He said, "Yes, I agree, I'm leftist," and but I would. He put across a question and told me this, that he questioned me that see, Kishore, we have given the last 2.5 years, we have given the kind of coverage that we have given to the BJP, Tamil Nadu BJP, in the media space. I could say no, not even the mainstream party, the ruling party, the DMK or the ADMK have received it. But Have they really utilized it? That is the question. I would say a big no. They've, I'm not trying to do a blame game here, but the fact remains that they have tried to project themselves more than the narrative. They're not bothered about it. And that failure was reflected in the parliamentary elections where you saw the continuous Modi baiting, the kind of scene that went on for 2 years, reflected in the assembly results as well. Now, it's one thing to say that the Tamil Nadu BJP is useless, so on and so forth. I wouldn't say that. But I would say that, yes, they are putting a lot of hard work, but is that smart work? Are they putting in the kind of narrative that is required? Say, last 6 months, I've attempted, and a few others, we have attempted to counter this narrative. We have been at the receiving ends. They've been pulling. I've faced trouble from even the police because I came out with a narrative questioning some of these top journalists because they have their contacts in the department and they ensure that anybody who raises the voice are pulled up using frivolous cases because they feel that if one voice is silenced, the others will fear raising their voices. So if you really ask me, the mindset of the people are, there are two sets, I could say. One are those who are heavily influenced by this kind of smear campaign, hate campaign that is going on. And the other set of people who are helplessly watching. They are looking at, will anybody come out here and bell the cat? So that is the kind of expectation that is there among one huge set of people. But unfortunately, nobody is setting the right narrative which will captivate them. That is the problem.
Okay. Kishore, my last two questions, and my last question is my favorite question actually. I keep asking this to any and every person whenever I am in Chennai. But I'll reserve that for the last. What is the way forward? What is the way forward? Do you think that social media should be used in a far more intelligent manner so that the citizens actually get factual information? Because there is a lot of colored information and there is a lot of hubris actually, and you need to cut down on that. So do you think, what is the way forward? So basically, when we are talking about the Indian security, we are talking about a national problem. It's not about a problem which is restricted to a Bihar or to an Assam or to a Gujarat. This is, you're talking the sovereignty of the country. So what do you think is the way forward?
We have been at the receiving end. I tell you, Tamil Nadu has been at the receiving end because of this particular. See, what assault you found by the Chinese and the border, that could be a territorial dispute. But the kind of problem that we faced because of the Chinese assault was more to do with economic, economically, in the sense that we had our the Sterlite Vedanta factory, which was shut down because of these protests, which were fueled and paid. We have the kind of NGOs who were instigated by have been openly accused by the Chinese, because we are seeing that the copper imports, now the country which is exporting copper is now depending on copper imports.
From, we are dependent on, we are import dependent insofar as copper is concerned.
Cost of Pakistan increasing its copper exports by almost about more than 400%. Now,
yes.
Sixth largest contributor to the state exchequer and the biggest contributor to the port of Tuticorin was shut down on frivolous charges just because there was a mass hysteria against it, fueled and funneled by money which was promoted actively by the church and by the Chinese lobby. Now, having said this, there is one thing. Yeah, there is. See, one thing is you can keep complaining about it, or you can set it right. So I am more into setting it right.
That's exactly my question.
Yes, I have moved into the mode of creating an alternative media space, not only just social media. even in the mainstream media, you need a space for the other voice, I mean, the other side of the story to come out as well. So I am well on the way to create my own right-wing mainstream media satellite channel, and not just one. I would like to go with multiple channels. I'm working on them, and I'm very confident that we will set the we will set this right, at least in the interest of the nation.
And as I said, I warned you, my favorite question for the last. Why is there so much of dislike for Hindi in Tamil Nadu?
So the people of Tamil Nadu, if there was so much dislike for Hindi, why would there be in the Char Sabha? Why would there be in all of South India the maximum number of students from hailing Tamil Nadu? So this is the kind of narrative that these people spread, and they kind of create this so-called hatred for Hindi. I tell you that once this whole thing, this political brownie points and this cheap political tactics that has been going on takes a backseat, people will be pragmatic enough to take it. See, there is always kind of, be it Maharashtra, be it Tamil Nadu, be it Bengal, there is always this passion for the language. There is not questions about
Oh,
it.
yes, there is a lot of pride in the local language. Like, I take a lot
Yes,
of pride in Marathi. I take
absolutely.
absolute pride in Marathi. And given any chance, I will start conversing in Marathi. My
Yes.
my thing was the dislike. I have to rephrase the question actually. Why is there so much of a political dislike for uh, Hindi? And
Now,
trust me, like we are conversing at the moment in the Queen's language. We're talking a foreign language at the moment, and both of us are fairly conversant with a lot of languages. But in general, like whenever I visit Chennai, and I do visit Chennai, I used to visit very often. I have seen this kind of disdain for Hindi. The minute you start speaking, when I'm on a phone call or when I'm talking to someone else standing nearby in Hindi, uh, there is an instant dislike for, you're made fun of, you're ridiculed, you're kind of, looked down upon. But the same guy, like my father, when he came to Bombay, and I'm talking a good 70 years back, uh, he did not know Hindi, but in the time that he spent, nearly 45 years that he was in Bombay, he was fairly conversant with not just Hindi, but with Marathi. He was good with Gujarati. Uh, we learn languages and we respect them. Why is there so much of this? Like, I was watching a few videos of some fringe elements. I call them fringe elements because, anyone
uh,
who gets votes less than a nota is not a politician. I don't want to, give them any kind of credibility by even naming them. But why is there so much of dislike for a language?
see, the problem arises from the clash between the Congress and the Justice Party. Justice Party was more or less a provincial party, whereas the Congress was the nationalistic party. And there were a few elements like Ive Ramsamy who were kicked out of the Congress party because of malpractices. And the moment they were kicked out, they found refuge in this Justice Party, which is actively promoted by the British. And so this particular disdain for Hindi was a product of that. Now, the only way they thought they could dislodge the Congress was by targeting the nationalistic fervor. And therefore, they felt that Hindi is a reflection of that nationalistic fervor. They were not able to counter people like Rajaji or Kamaraj with the local influence. The only way they could counter them was by trying to say that they were students of the Hindi heartland. That was the only way they could carry the narrative forward. So that narrative was helpful for them, in creating this kind of so-called Hindi hatred and this Hindi bashing, and which instigated a lot of youngsters to uh, uh, you know um, uh, get killed they burned themselves, self-immolation, and so on and so forth, and then they rode on that, and they rode to power on that. But we ultimately people saw through it. I think I would say karma caught up when Karnanidhi came out and said the reason why a novice like Dayanidhi Maran was put into the ministry because he knew Hindi. Now, that was when people woke up and said, hey, this man is ensuring that his kids and his offspring are all, learning Hindi, whereas he has kept almost 2-3 generations. He ensured that 3 generations aboard or avoided Hindi. Now, if you ask me personally, I think I regret not being affluent in Hindi. Now, that is the kind of mindset that is there among the people. But to ensure that this mindset does not become the collective thought process, they time and again try to bring this Hindi being forced or Hindi is being, put on to us by compulsion and so on and so forth. It's not the fact. But the distortion is not being countered properly, I should say. And I would also blame Delhi for trying to create this kind of opinion or caricaturing that whoever comes from south of India are all Madrasis. No, we are not. There is more to us than Madras. Of course, the capital of Tamil Nadu, but then there is more to us than that. So this kind of caricaturing should also stop. And the kind of caricaturing that is going on in Tamil Nadu with northerners trying to say Pani Puri syllabus is also absurd. So this integration, which is already existing, has to it has to be propagated properly. For example, if you really look at the case of Lord Ram, I was saying how Lord Ram unites all of us. You know very well, you might be aware of the Ayodhya case. See, one of the main testimonies was that of Sikh Guru Nanak, his visit to Ayodhya, or for that matter, he even claims that he belongs to the clan of Lord Ram. Now, that is the same thing with Raja Bhoja of Madhya Pradesh, or Rana Pratap, or for that matter, the rulers of Deccan. They said that they are descendants of Lord Ram. Now, the Cholas, if you take, they claim the earliest of the Cholas, the second line of Cholas, who started the 8th century BCE, they come out and they say that they claim openly, and there are enough scriptures to say that they claim that they are the descendants of Lord Ram as well. So Ram unites all of us. Now, this whole thought process that we are offsprings of Ravan was brought in by the Justice Party just to decimate this unity. So once we see through it, I think this whole Hindi bashing or hating Hindi will just go away.
I completely agree that it has to be both ways. Caricaturing of any particular group or of any particular geographical part of India is unacceptable. So to that extent, yes, I do agree. And yes, there is a lot of caricaturing happening both ways. So it has to stop both ways. To that extent, we both of us are on the same page. And I know you're going to be very short of time. You have another engagement in less than 20 minutes. So I really am looking forward not just to having many more such interactions so that people understand what exactly is happening and how we build an informative network of coming in from people. Like I really was really happy to know that yes, there is a lot of credible information with regard to the India-China situation as it stands. And going ahead in the days to come, we are looking forward to many more interactions which will be more informative, more factual, and more friendly. There is no, as we say in Hindi, there is no tutu meme. We are not accusing each other of any wrongdoing or any situation, but we're just trying to build information for people to take it up, understand, and then make an informed decision on what has to be done about it. So thank you very much, Kishore. Thank you very much for your time. I really do appreciate, and on behalf of Indoy and on behalf of everyone in India, thank you very much for your time, and looking forward to having a cup of tea. I'm sorry, I'm not a coffee drinker, but we'll have chai. We'll have kullad ki chai, which is really good, way of meeting up. We'll meet up soon, and we'll take things forward the way we keep talking about.
I would look forward to the chai pe charcha.
Oh yeah. We'll do a chai pe charcha. I'm not a very bad tea maker, so I'll make the tea for you, and we'll have a charcha on chai. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.